this brown bag lunch, this staycation, this do-it-yourself oil change, this second shift at work. At American Family Insurance, we understand what it takes to make your first home a reality. It's the same as it takes to protect it. For home, auto, life, and business, visit amfam.com to learn more. Insure carefully. Dream fearlessly. American Family Insurance.
American Family Mutual Insurance Company, SI, and its operating company, 6000 American Parkway, Madison, Wisconsin.
Are the Jets an avoid-at-all-costs offense this season? Which Hawkeye tight end is better for dynasty owners? And we play a Would You Rather with Le'Veon Bell. Plus, the 2018-19 FFPC Divisional Round Playoff $50,000 grand prize winner Prasadh Kannan drops by to talk about how he constructed his lineup and why Damian Williams made the cut for him on his roster from Kansas City. We've got a great show for you. Dave Gerzak is here. I'm Eric Balkman. Stick around. Your high-stakes fantasy football hour starts now.
Hey, bro.
Broadcast live and heard around the world, you are now listening to the most entertaining hour of radio on the planet. It's the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com with your hosts Eric Balkman and Dave Gerzak. The High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour is your home for football analysis from the best fantasy players in the world. And now, because no one else was available, here are Eric Balkman and Dave Gerzak.
Hey, thanks a lot. Appreciate it, Rob. Greetings and salutations. Each and every one of you, Balkaholics and Gerzak fanatics, welcome to the latest episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com. I am, of course, your slightly above average host, Eric Balkman. My co-host is indeed the patron saint of fantasy football, the Dizzle, Dave Gerzak. Coming up on tonight's show, who are the rookie tight ends that can make an impact year one for you in 2019? What is Darius Geis's fantasy value at the moment, or Yice, as we coined him last year? That was short, since he got hurt right away. We never got to overplay that awful joke. Plus, $50,000 FFPC Divisional Playoff Challenge champion Prasadh Kannan rebuilds his winning lineup for us tonight and answers your emails all on tonight's show. Shout out to the chat room right now. Feel free to post any questions you all might have in there if you want to connect with us on Twitter. You can do so at HSFF Hour, at Eric Balkman, at David Gerzak. Prasadh is on Twitter at Prasadh Kannan. You can also visit our Facebook page, facebook.com/HSFF Hour. If you want to chime in and talk with us, feel free. 347-426-3682. That's 347-GAME-OVA. You can also email the show at the inbox, highstakesfantasyfootball@gmail.com. If you do have any questions for us or for Prasadh, now is the time to send them. We will get to all the chat room questions, tweets, and emails on the fantasy feedback segment later on in the show. And our audio engineer, Bryce, and our mutual friend and producer, Rob, are going to be getting those to us later on in the show. Now, full disclosure, Dave Gerzak, who is stepping up to the mic right now. David, welcome to the show.
Hello, Eric. How are you?
Good, good. Full disclosure, Dave actually just got into the studio right now because he was busy making sure that a live best ball filled and went off in time, and you can sign up for those at myffpc.com. Best ball Superflex double ups available at $35, $77, and $250, and with almost, I think, 100 rookies in there right now that you can draft, and this is the time to get value. We'll be referencing the ADP throughout the show tonight. If you want to pick up a Dynasty Orphan, do so at myffpc.com right now. Click on that Dynasty banner. You can take a look at all the Orphan teams that are out there, discounted prices, and of course, anything with the new sticker on them means that we just listed those, so check that out. And last thing I'll say before we get to Prasadh here, RotoViz High Stakes Lowdown, Season 4, the premiere. It's out. They said it couldn't be done. They said there's no way Balky gets to season 4 with RotoViz. They're way too proficient. This is
only the fourth season.
Yeah, the fourth season. And
seems like it just didn't started last year.
No. This has been going on for several years now. Brian Studebaker, you can follow at RMG_Dynasty. Good size one, like a 45-minute episode. A lot of dynasty strategy in there as far as rookie drafts, as far as startups go, trading, what you should be doing now in February, and then we get into a few of the rookies that are going to be drafted. You can check that out at rotoviz.com/podcast. You can also go to the RotoViz Spreaker channel, as well as Apple Podcasts. Basically, anywhere you download podcasts, you can check that out with me and Brian Studebaker. All right, let's get into tonight's guest here, ladies and gentlemen. He has been playing high-stakes fantasy football for 1 year. Yeah, that's right. This is his first year. He is entering his 7th season of playing fantasy football, though, and having Tom Brady's name in his FFPC Divisional Playoff Challenge team name might have helped get the attention of the football gods as he took home the $50,000 grand prize this season in the inaugural Divisional Playoff Challenge in the FFPC. Please welcome in the champion of that contest. It is Prasadh Kannan. Prasadh, thanks so much for joining us tonight, man. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Eric. What up? How are you guys all doing?
We are doing excellent. We are excited to talk fantasy football with you. So I got to ask you right off at the top, and we're going to get into more, but your first year of playing high-stakes fantasy football, you entered, I know you were in the playoff challenge, and then you entered the divisional playoff challenge, and how about that? $50,000, and it only took $200. That had to be pretty awesome, man.
Yeah, it is. It's a dream, man. It is surreal for me. I was still pinching myself. This has really happened. Thanks to Cooks. Honestly, that is the difference for me. Cooks was the clear difference for me in the lineup because the guys above me. Because when I finished the NFC AFC Championship game, I was sitting at 31st rank, and I was looking at all the folks above me in the list, and everybody has Gurley. And some people obviously have Edelman. So I think the Cooks was the difference maker for me, man. So yeah, it was a hell of a ride.
Cooks definitely shot a lot of teams up on the leaderboard, no question, during the Super Bowl. Your team included. Prasadh, we'll get into fantasy football in a second. Can you tell the listeners what you're doing for a living when you are not winning $50,000 in the Divisional Playoff Challenge with the FFPC?
Yeah, sure. So I'm a technologist. I'm an architect, software architect. I'm technology sales executive for a large consulting firm in US. Obviously I have other interests too. It's just not fantasy football, but rather I love all kinds of sports: basketball, soccer, golf, and obviously tennis. So I'm a sports junkie, and I love all kinds of sports, and fantasy football is another one of them. So
that's awesome. That's good stuff for sure. That's really good. Dave, let's talk about this divisional round, because the thing is, everybody always wants to know, how are you going to build your lineup? How are you going to build your lineup? But it's always fun, Dave, I think, to look after the fact, to look back on how this lineup was built.
Yeah. So the question is, hey, how'd you build your lineup?
Yeah. All right. I was probably setting you up a little too much on that one.
Like I said, this is my first inaugural, FFPC endeavor. I have to give a shout out to one of my buddy, Drew Sorsey, who kind of introduced this to me. I used to play a lot of, DraftKings and all that, but this is my first FFPC, and this is one of the best format that I ever played. So thanks to you guys. And also, when I started, building the playoff lineup, the one mantra I kind of kept in my mind is dogs are dogs, because it's very hard in NFL to kind of go into some other on the road and winning a playoff game is a monumental challenge. So I kind of kept that in mind and kind of built my bracket, and my picks were for Super Bowl were Saints and Patriots. Which is obvious, right? Which most of probably 99% of the people would have picked that, or probably Saints and Chiefs. But I believed in Brady. I think he will definitely show up, and I thought that Saints and Patriots were a clear pick. But also, to be honest, I know the second biggest beneficiary of the no PI call on the Rams Saints game was me, because if Saints would have walked in, probably Thomas would have showed up, but definitely Chimera would have played a much larger role given the way that the Pats play. So anyway, I felt like I was also one of the beneficiary of that call. It just went in my way. So the simple strategy works is, I just picked the top player in the individual teams. But also one of the key aspects of this fantasy football is, especially to go to the number one, your lineup should have someone or a combination of something that nobody else have. So that kind of helps you get to the number one, is always my belief. So in my case, go ahead, Eric.
No, I was just going to say, people talk about, there's a lot of jokes when we had the original playoff challenge released, 4,250 teams, and people are like, but what does that cut up 25 ways? Assuming that there's going to be one team, or there's going to be 24 teams with all the same roster. But once again, we had a singular champion in that, and you were the singular champion in this, and I think that goes into it. I mean, you want to have really good players, but you also want to be different, at least with one or two players for sure.
Yeah. So I think so to your point, yes. So, if you look at all the lineups, Gurley was the obvious choice for Rams, right? So we got to be something different. For Coles, Ebron, or TJ Hilton seemed to be the obvious choice. But you try to be different. Patrick Mahomes is the obvious choice for QB, which, I also picked the Patrick Mahomes in one of the other lineup in my playoff challenge. So, those are some obvious calls went in other ways. So I don't think the combination of things that just went in my way, I think, this time. So.
Prasadh, Kannan, the $50,000 FFPC Divisional Playoff Challenge champion, joining us here on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour tonight. I'm Eric Balkman. He's Dave Gerzak. Let's delve deeper into this a little bit and kind of look at some of the guys that really made a difference for you. And I'm going to look at quarterback right now. For your Indianapolis Colt here, you chose Andrew Luck over Eric Ebron. Ebron being a popular choice, given that he was one of the best tight ends in the FFPC all season, and the fact that you get 1.5 points per catch for tight ends. That turns out to be 3. He didn't make it to the Super Bowl, but if your tight end is in the Super Bowl, he's getting 3 points for every single catch. I'm curious, why was Andrew Luck the play for you at quarterback there over Eric Ebron, Prasadh?
Yeah, sure. So this is again going back to the concept of high risk, high reward play. I just wanted to differentiate the lineup, make it a bit awkward. So if you really think about it, I'm pretty sure people obviously know the play calling of Coles, because of the red zone. Most of the time they just go to the Eric Ebron. So or probably they're going to run the ball with Max. So it feels like in the playoffs, typically your opponent will always try to take away your best weapon on the red zone. So I always feel like even Ebron is a great choice. The number of catches throughout the game, probably he might get 5 to 6 targets. Or maybe max 10 targets, but he will make 5 or 6 of them. So there is not a lot of. He's not a very big yardage guy, but it's a red zone threat. So that's one of the reasons I want to go away from Ebron. And also, it's personally throughout this year, although Ebron was a great choice in some of the weeks, I never picked Ebron, even in my DFS or my playoffs. So it is just my mindset of just going away, and he's just a beneficiary of Doyle. He's missing out due to injury. So I don't see him as a phenomenal, game-changing player. He's more of the beneficiary of the injury for Doyle. So that's the reason I didn't pick him. I thought Luck was the best player for Coles throughout the playoffs. So that's why I picked him.
So let's go back to the Rams a little bit. So if Todd Gurley had been healthy and performing well at the end of the season, do you think you would have taken him over Brandon Cooks, or do you think you would have still faded Gurley, given that he would have such a high ownership percentage?
Yeah, I think I definitely thought that the defenses are just dialed up to stop Gurley, because we all seen that what Goff can do with his arms. He's a phenomenal player. Goff himself is a phenomenal player, but I think their Rams offense runs through Gurley most of the time. So it is just that, the Gurley is flashy, he's extremely talented, he's a generational player and all that, but to be honest, I didn't like him in playoffs, especially this year because he's not healthy. CJ Anderson is picking up the slack really well, running the ball. And he's not like the LeGarrette Blunt kind of running between the tackles kind of a guy. If you give him the space or, if you give him the ball in the space, Gurley really does the damage. But, I think the playoffs is all about running hard in the cold weather. So I don't see him as a great, at least this year, I didn't see him as a really a suitable guy throughout the playoffs. So that's the reason I went to Cooks, because over years, obviously Cooks proved that he is a clutch player. No matter what your matchups are, he definitely shows up in the playoffs, which he has done with last year with Patriots and with Saints before. He's a phenomenal player. So that's the reason I went to Cooks. I kind of had a dilemma between Cooks and Woods, but I thought Cooks may be that one throw kind of like you put like one big throw, he just gets like 60-70 yards on the score. So he just puts you like 20, 30, probably 15-20 points just in a couple of plays. So I just took a risk with Cooks on that one.
Yeah, and you're right. Cooks has been clutch in the playoffs, no question. And obviously he, that especially that fourth quarter, he was huge for anybody who owned him for sure. You had a heavy running back team, Prasadh, no question, on this team, and one of those running backs was Damian Williams, another guy that was massive for anybody who had him going in the playoff challenge. Were you trying to be contrarian in selecting him as your chief over league MVP Patrick Mahomes, the best tight end in the league, Travis Kelce, or Tyreek Hill, who was one of the best wide receivers? Or did something else go into that decision that you thought, hey, Damian Williams is going to be my choice here, and it's the right choice?
Going into the divisional playoffs, obviously Colts are waiting for Chiefs, and the Colts had one of the best secondaries in the football. At least a very underrated secondary, but they're really good. So my thought process was Colts will be clearly dialed in terms of stopping Hill for sure. But I thought that Kelce will be a hit or miss throughout the season. He scored probably four or five touchdowns throughout the year. Especially the last 6-7 weeks, he hasn't scored a touchdown. But he has been the yardage machine or the chain moving target for Mahomes. He's obviously catching 7 to 8 targets, probably 70, 80 yards. So that's very high floor. But I felt like his ceiling was not like 25, 30 points, but probably in the range of 20. But he has high floor of at least 13, 14 points. But Damian, on the other hand, especially in the last few weeks, and also they have given him a couple of year extension, which kind of proved that he's going to be the biggest piece of that offense going forward. So once I saw the extension came out, and also I saw that his snap count has been very high, I thought that he's a clear number one back on the backfield. And he has a very good hand, so he can gonna catch left and right. So given that, and also if Patriots I just took a gamble on, my assumption was Patriots will be making to the AFC Championship game, and they will be playing Chiefs, and Hill will be completely blanketed by probably with the best secondary that Patriots got. So my assumption was anyway Hill will be taken away by Belichick, but so it gives me a better chance that Damian may be a good, because he's gonna run the ball. They're gonna get a lot of chances in the red zone. Do you touchdown through either as a runner or as a catcher? And obviously, I'm extremely bullish about Damian next year too.
I am too. Definitely on board with Damian Williams. We look at where he's going in drafts right now in the FFPC, Dave. His ADP is 307, which is obviously he wasn't even being drafted last year. He's going at the 307 right now in drafts, and quite frankly, that might be too low. I think the only reason he's going that low is the apprehension of Kansas City maybe bringing on another running back in addition to Williams in 2019. Now that they have parted ways with Kareem Hunt, and the corpse of Spencer Ware is starting to show his age and his wear and tear out there as well. So interesting stuff on Damian Williams there.
It kind of, I mean, that's Damian Williams where he's being drafted scares me a little bit because he's played so well, but he just signed a 2-year extension for a max value of $8.1 million. That's not the type of contract you give someone who you really look at as your feature back. So maybe they felt like they were going to get him for cheap and they'd have him for a couple of years. But there's always a chance of a running back being drafted. This does seem like a weak running back class, so at least he has that going for him. I just
like a rookie class, you mean?
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Rookies. I mean, someone could come in. You know, even if they draft, someone in the 3rd round, there's a shot that person could come in and compete with Williams. I do like Williams, though. Actually, I mean, his game is so good. Anyway, moving on. Let's talk about the Saints a little bit. You took Michael Thomas over Alvin Kamara. Walk us through that a little bit. Why did you choose Thomas over him?
So again, it is purely a matchup decision. I think Saints were playing Eagles for the divisional round, and Eagles have one of the worst secondaries. So at least, I mean, they are not there somewhere in the 25 to 26. So it's kind of the rank for the secondary. So I thought that there is no one can match up with Thomas on that secondary, which actually they did a pretty good job. Honestly, but I thought that Thomas is gonna really milk that matchup, and he's gonna definitely catch probably 7 to 8 catches in the range of 70 to 80 yards, or probably a 100-yard game. So that's the reason I picked Thomas over Kamara.
Talking with Prasadh Kannan here on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour, the FFPC Divisional Playoff Challenge, $50,000 grand prize winner this past year. One of the stories I always like to hear from the players who win the big prizes, Prasadh, is what it was like when you found out. Take me through kind of when you were watching the Super Bowl, knowing that you had a good chance, and then you see Brandon Cooks at the end, catch those few passes that put you up there. Tell me what was going through your mind and what you were doing when you were watching that, assuming you were watching it.
No, yeah, I was. So I was in a Patriots den in Atlanta. I live in Atlanta, so it's kind of interesting because I have this ritual on Super Bowl because we have bunch of folks that I always watch the Super Bowl with, fantasy fanatics and things like that. So when I was talking to those folks before the Super Bowl, I was showing my lineup and I was telling them, today I'm going to support Cooks because Cooks has to show up. He is my wild card today. If Cooks plays big today, and obviously Edelman is going to play, going to be in the range of 7 to 8 catches or 7 to 80 yards at least. But Cooks was really different because he's going to be covered by Gilmore, and Gilmore completely. I mean, he's a phenomenal corner. So I was really worried about his size because Gilmore is tall. Cooks is short. I kind of really worried that he is gonna cut some of his routes, especially the jump balls and all that. But anyway, it kind of works out in my way. But yeah, I was until halftime. There is not a lot of thing happened because Gurley was completely shut down, which made me happy. And Cooks did not do much. He probably 6 to 7 points. And then after the halftime, things changed, and the Goff keep on going to Cooks. So every time I think eventually the group that I was with, they stopped the supporting the team and rather supporting the Cooks. Everybody was pulling every catch he makes. We jumped out of the table and he was cheering for Cooks, which is kind of weird because we're a bunch of Patriots fans. So especially the last catch, the last drive, especially the last catch he being, I think the one of the things that was really a heartbreak for us is when he was wide open on the backfield and Goff completely wobbled that ball and it took so long to come to him, and by the time Jason McCourty was there to tackle him. So that was a crazy play, and my heart was just, if that catch would have been made, I could have won the save. I know that I would have got a huge lead on top of Gurley and all the other folks and all the folks in the top 10. So, but anyway, it didn't happen. But I'm glad that Cooks made enough catch on that last drive. Probably 2 or 3 catches he made that kind of helped me. get through. So I'm really thankful.
Yeah, the winning lineup for, I should have told you, everybody, this at the front, but Prasad's winning lineup was Andrew Luck at quarterback, 3 running backs, Ezekiel Elliott, Melvin Gordon, Damian Williams. The wide receivers are Brandon Cooks, obviously, Julian Edelman, Michael Thomas, and then the tight end, Zach Ertz. Remember, they only had to submit 8 players in this lineup for the divisional challenge, so that's what that one worked out to be. Prasadh, we got a couple of emails here that came in for you that I wanted to read to you, and hopefully you can help these listeners out. First one is Joe in Defiance, Ohio. I think we've gotten an email from Joe before because I remember the Defiance. Yeah, it's always stuck in my mind. He writes, hey, Prasadh, is there a landing spot for Tevin Coleman that you'd be excited about him for fantasy purposes in 2019? Thanks, Mr. 50K. That is Joe in Defiance, Ohio. Tevin Coleman, a free agent now, obviously was with the Falcons last year. He is free to sign with anybody. Is there a situation, or is there not a situation in the NFL right now, Prasadh, as you look toward this coming season and this draft season that we're in right now, quite frankly, that you'd be excited about Tevin Coleman landing in?
I think there may be a few spots in the NFC or maybe in the AFC as well. They can be a good beneficiary of Tevin Coleman. I mean, I don't see him as a great tackle between the tackles running back, but he's a very good pass catcher of the backfield. Obviously, he has proved that over years. So probably, if Hunt is not be part of the Redskins, I think he can be a good complementary back for Hunt. I mean, obviously Hunt also a good catcher of the ball, but he can be a good fit for Redskins in one way. I also see that probably he can be maybe Jets. I think any team that needs a good pass catching, some kind of 1-2 punch kind of teams will be a good fit for me. I don't know who has the right cap, or I don't know. I haven't done much research around what his value today, but I don't know how old he is. He's probably 20, 26, 27 now.
I don't know if he's quite that old. Dave, do you know offhand how old Tevin Coleman is? Or are you looking it up right now? Okay, that's fine. Yeah, because
25.
25, okay.
Turned 26 in April.
So he will be 26 before the season starts. Boy, it seems... I didn't realize he was that old, but I guess I've been waiting on him in Dynasty that long for him to explode.
You've been covering him on the RotoViz podcast for years now, Velky.
We actually were talking about him on the on Fantasy Overtime on the not on the Apple Trophy Fantasy Football Show, on the show with Leo and Balky this afternoon on AM 1570 and 95.3, 99.1 FM. The Score. We're talking about Tevin Coleman, and I said this is a guy that had the keys to the Cadillac this year when Devontae Freeman went down, and he couldn't get it going, man. With Ito Smith ate into it, he couldn't crush it. So I look at where he could end up this season, and even if it's in the best situation possible, even if it's with a team that does not draft a running back on day 1 or day 2, it's going to be very difficult for me to get very excited about drafting him this season. Now, I reserve the right to change my mind, but that's sort of how I'm at right now. I just don't think he's a special talent. Let's go to Tom in Springfield, Illinois, Prasadh. He writes, what's up, champ? It's another NFC South question. If the Bucks cut Deshaun Jackson this offseason, does Chris Godwin finish as a top 30 receiver in Bruce Arians' Aerial Show in Tampa? Thank you for the email, Tom in Springfield, Illinois. What are your thoughts on Chris Godwin, Prasadh, if he is the number 2 behind Mike Evans with no Deshaun Jackson in Tampa?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be it's a great question. He is my one of the sleeper candidates that I have written down for next season, because I think they lost, obviously, the Derek Carter is one of the best offensive minds, but with Bruce Arians running the show, they're going to be running the ball more, obviously, but also, the play action is going to be huge for them. So I think I'm more excited. I don't know about whether he'll be a top 30, but I am really bullish about his chances next year. I think he is one of the sleeper candidates for next year, probably top 30 or even top 20. That's just very high possibilities for him next year.
Interestingly enough, I was just thinking about the Buccaneers receivers. So if Humphreys goes, he's a free agent.
He's a free agent. Somebody will probably pay him a lot of money. Caught 77 passes last year, Dave, I want to say.
Yeah, a lot. I mean, whatever it was crazy.
He crushed it, yeah. So somebody's going to pay him.
But
And in Bruce Arians' offense, though, a lot of times, go ahead.
no, I'm just gonna say that I think in the red zone, Godwin has a very good the leaping ability, and he's very tall and lanky. So I think he has some good. He definitely puts some yardage every week. Given that if Deshaun is gone and even Humphreys stays, I think that he will gonna be putting some numbers in terms of at least scoring some touchdowns. So I think his chances are very high.
Dave, I'm going to let you finish your point in a second here, but I will say this about Godwin. 55 targets his rookie year, 95 targets in 2018. That was with Deshaun Jackson and Adam Humphries on this team. Sky's the limit for him, so obviously it could even be higher. Go ahead with your point that you wanted to make about him.
Well, Howard and Bray are both coming back, but then you still have Justin Watson actually out of Penn.
Yeah.
Who did absolutely nothing whatsoever. But Arians a lot of times, his number 3 wide receiver, actually emerges and does something. So Watson could be someone to look at if, granted, he did literally nothing as a rookie. But, you never know. He's a spark specimen. He's a super talent.
6'3", 225. He was a fifth-round pick out of Penn U, not Penn State, Pennsylvania University. It's an Ivy League
University
school.
of Penn.
Excuse me, University of Pennsylvania.
Founded by Ben Franklin.
There you go. Always a crowd favorite for sure. And you have Justin Watson on that team. We don't know what they're going to get out of Ronald Jones, Dave. We don't know what if Peyton Barber is going to be back for more. Jacquizz Rodgers still farting around in that backfield as well. So
Le'Veon Bell's out there.
Le'Veon Bell's out there. We'll see what happens in the draft too. David Montgomery, Benny Snell, Devin Singletary, all guys. Josh Jacobs, guy that they could look at as well. So we'll see what Tampa does there. Dave, go ahead with one of your favorite questions that you always like asking.
So I know it's early, but can you give us a guy that you will be staying away from? This is in redraft. Staying away from the early rounds next year, and a player that is a sleeper that you think will be poised to break out in 2019?
Yeah. Probably this is obvious, but I'm gonna be staying away from Le'Veon and Antonio Brown. Because I know they are exceptional talent and probably once in a generational talent and all that. But I don't know. Usually when it will take a couple of weeks to really realize the fact that what's their value. So probably if some of them are available in the later rounds, which I doubted, but I'm not picking them in the first 2 or 3 rounds for sure. And then the other candidate I would say is, yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to say, Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell, they're both going pretty early. We've equated them to being in the late, like we call them third level flakes because they're a little bit wacky, they're a little weird, there's something going on with them. There's quite not right. There's just this little, not talking Josh Gordon risk, he's a first level flake, but like there's a little bit of risk with drafting those guys. So I actually am on board with you on those 2 players. But go ahead with your sleeper.
No, I'm just gonna have one more guy is Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't know whether how much he's gonna be good coming back from the MCL and the ACL that he has. So it's gonna be interesting. And then for me the sleepers are I just have a bunch of them, but there are a few of them that I would find out is the Dante Pettis of 49ers. I'm more excited about that guy. He's exceptional talent. I think he showcased that in the few games that he played. I think once Garoppolo coming back and hopefully he plays well, I think that Dante Pettis might be a breakout candidate for next year if he is not already. And then the other guy I have is Kiki QT. I think he's already kind of a little bit breakout guy, but he's going to be the number 2 behind. Probably the defense is probably focused more on Hopkins, and the Kiki might be the guy who is going to get a lot of yardage for that wide receiver core up there in Houston. So I think he's going to be huge. And then the other one, I think a couple of more guys I have. Ito Smith. I'm excited about him, his chances. Given that Sarkisian is out and we got Doug Gator from Bucks, he's going to be running the show as offensive coordinator. So I'm excited about Ito Smith. And then the McKinnon, probably a comeback candidate for 49ers in the running back. And then the Michael Gallup. I'm excited about Michael Gallup in Dallas. So
lots of young players. I like that. QT, I feel like if Dr. James Andrews could just go ahead and do a double hamstring implant during the off season for QT, that would be it. That's all he needs to actually play a whole season and get 10 touches a game.
Yeah, or just see Dick Cheney's doctor. I mean, that guy had a ton of robot parts. I think Kiki QT could probably benefit from that. Check out the movie Justice League. Whatever they did to Cyborg, I think that could transform Kiki QT into a massive fantasy get next year, no question. Prasadh Kannan, the $50,000 grand prize winner in the FFPC Divisional Playoff Challenge this past year, joining us tonight. Last question before we let you go and enjoy your Friday night, man. 50 grand, it's a lot of money. You have any plans? Is that earmarked for something special? What do you plan on spending that cash on?
The one thing I would tell you that, which I'm not going to do, is I'm not going to Vegas. So that's not happening. But,
what the hell?
Probably I'll stop by for the draft for FFPC, but other than that, I'm not doing it. But so far no big plans, and I'm just savoring this moment. Having kind of honestly it's surreal for me, but I think you put in the work and do your thing, and then think things will show up. So I'm gonna continue to do that with the FFPC going forward. So.
Very good. And I know you're in the software industry, so if you do decide to invest into some sort of tech startup or software company that you think is a hot stock, my email is dave@myffpc.com.
Yeah, let us know.
Just let me know which stock you're investing in. After you get in, it's fine. We don't need to be in early like you, but just tell us. That's fine. That's all we
absolutely.
No inside info though. We don't want to break the law.
Yeah. No, absolutely not. We just a casual conversation. We wouldn't even put it on the air, quite frankly. We'd just have a nice friendly chat off air, and we'll do it that way. Prasadh Kannan joining us tonight on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour, the $50,000 grand prize winner in the FFPC Divisional Challenge. Follow him on Twitter @Prasadh Kannan. Congratulations, my friend. I'm thrilled that you stepped in your first year and you win a 5-figure grand prize. That's awesome. Best of luck to you in 2019. Hopefully the good things keep on rolling for you, man. And thanks for coming on the show tonight. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you so much, Eric and Dave. You guys have a great Friday night. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Prasadh Kannan. There he is, ladies and gentlemen, joining us tonight on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour. Bit of trivia here, Dave. A couple of things I'll bring up in no particular order. We're just talking about
the whatever of the day.
No, it is not. A couple of things here. First, I'm going to bring up two-packer hanging out in the chat room. We were just talking about Mike Evans, who I happen to own in the Blake Carrington Dynasty League, a Dynasty League we refer to a lot on this show. You are in this league. He sent me a trade offer.
By the way, I took second and Meyer took third this year.
Congratulations to you both.
And Balky took not first.
7th, 6th.
Hey, your team's actually pretty good.
Yeah, it was the third highest scoring team in the league, and never stood a chance once the playoffs started. I am whatever the Angels are doing to Mike Trout, that's what I'm doing to Todd Gurley in this league. Just cannot, or whatever the Packers are doing to Aaron Rodgers, that's what I'm doing to Todd Gurley. Just cannot put a winning lineup around him.
I'm glad you got rid of the Mike Trout reference, since obviously I don't know who.
You know who Mike Trout is.
I know
you said on this show.
I know who he is.
Okay.
I don't know anything. He could be missing a limb. He could be shot. He could be. And he could have hit for the cycle today in
February.
In pre-spring training. Is it spring training yet?
Not yet. Next week though.
Oh.
Pitchers and
catchers. In batting cage training.
Right.
I wouldn't care.
Batting cage training. Perfect. So I have Mike Evans in this league. Two-packer offered me the 108 and the 109 for Mike Evans.
That's hilarious.
Have not rejected it yet, but I feel like letting him know over the air which way I'm leaning, and it's
hard pass, huh?
Yeah. Other thing I'm going to mention, we had that, was it a 35 FFPC that went off at 9 o'clock tonight? 10 o'clock Eastern, excuse me?
Yep, 10 Eastern, yep. 10.
I was playing Words with Friends with Jason Kahn, former guest of the show, Jason Kahn. And he actually sent me a message on there. Guess who joined another FFPC best ball tonight?
Really?
I said, was it the one that went off at 10? He said, yes. I said, were you the last one to sign up? And he said, no, I was like 8th or 9th. He ended up getting the 2 pick. Number 1 was Saquon Barkley. He went with Gurley. He wanted to take Ezekiel Elliott, just couldn't pull the trigger on Elliott, so he went with Gurley there. And I said, yeah, Dave couldn't start the show because he had to make sure that league filled. And he said, that Dave, always working. He also said,
if only people really knew.
Right, and he says, hi, and he says, love how you multitask, spanking me in Words with Friends and taking my fantasy dollars. Well done. Yeah, I'm not. He's beat me 3 games in a row in that, so I'm not
that game
so hot.
Good.
And no, it's I like playing with Jason and no one else. That's it.
All right. How do we want to?
It's Scrabble. It's essentially Scrabble.
Oh.
That's all it is. It's called Words with Friends.
Oh.
Yeah. Thanks to Football Guys, Roto World, and Rob for tonight's rundown, ladies and gentlemen. Not a whole lot of news going on, so we're gonna be delving deep tonight and
there's the news.
Picking the brain of Dave. Really? There is news?
Sure.
All right. Do you have something special in mind, or should I just go with what I got here?
Go with what you got. We'll talk about whatever we got to talk about.
All right. The Jets have hired former Lions offensive coordinator Jim Bob Cooter as the running backs coach in New York. This, according to the rap sheet on Twitter. Jim Bob Cooter, of course, was he was Detroit's offensive coordinator for the previous 4 years, and he was actually an assistant with Adam Gase, Jets head coach Adam Gase, in Denver under head coach John Fox.
Well, that's a whole lot of mediocrity.
Now, the offensive coordinator in New York is Dewell Logains, and Adam Gase is calling the plays. So you have Jim Bob Cooter, you have Dewell Logains, you have Adam Gase there, Dave.
Wow, that is a powerful tandem.
Oh, wait, I'm not done. You have receivers like Quincy Enunwa and Robbie Anderson. You have running backs like Elijah McGuire and Isaiah Crowell, and you have a quarterback named Sam Darnold. I think I shouldn't say I'm totally avoiding the Jets because you have me turned on to Chris Herndon, but I think he's the only guy I'm really considering in this offense, and quite frankly, I'm not that excited about him this year. Your thoughts on just avoiding the Jets' offense entirely in fantasy drafts this year?
I don't think I can avoid them entirely because there are only 32 teams. You got to pick some teams. Even if they're a 6-10 team or 7-9, they're not the worst. They're not the worst team in the world, and I guess I'll just kind of see how things play out. I agree with you. I'm not getting too excited about all those players that you just mentioned, but there's a lot of off season still to come, so we'll see what happens with the skill level or the skilled players that they have going on. Robbie
Anderson currently going at the 805 in FFPC drafts. Chris Herndon going at the 905 in drafts. And I'm just looking, I would imagine that they're going to, there's going to be some significant rookies on this team. Isaiah Crowell going at the 2006.
And the reason I'm a little optimistic about the Jets is because you still do have Sam Darnold, right? He's a great
He's the guy that I'm excited about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He can lift this team up. And so I have a little bit of optimism just because of Sam Darnold and his skill set. So Herndon especially, what do you have, 40-some catches for 500 yards and 3 or 4 touchdowns or something like that? That's not that great in general. For a rookie tight end, that's fantastic.
Right, and not only that, but this is a player that we had mentioned in the pre-draft process. I shouldn't say we, it was all you on this one. We had mentioned in the pre-draft process, you had mentioned in the pre-draft process, a guy that you were very excited about, had great athleticism, was not a highly drafted guy, but he ended up carving out a pretty good fantasy role for redraft teams that selected him and picked him up last year. So
but keep in mind, I was kind of ripping off the RotoViz tight end model, and I'm trying to think of who was here. Oh, man.
It's okay. You don't have to cite the person. Just cite what you were going to say about it.
Well, it's interesting, though. It talks about their odds of starting 64 games, and he was one of the players that actually hit that model. It has to do with speed, score, age, bench press, and market share of yards in college.
That's how my wife chose me, by the way.
And Chris Herndon, for 2018, that's very funny. Very nice. Mike Gesicki was a 60% chance of hitting that number. Dallas Goedert, 50. And next was Chris Herndon, the third highest ranked tight end at 36%. That's a pretty good score, actually,
right,
given where he was drafted. So, given how he did as a rookie, I think he's going to hit that number.
Was he the best rookie tight end last year?
He definitely outperformed.
Goddard's the only other guy I can think of. Gesicki was nothing. Hurst was nothing.
Yeah, Hurst was terrible. Gesicki, like you said.
Mark Andrews,
he was okay. But yeah, I think he was the best rookie tight end last year. Jalen Samuels, they showed him here, but he obviously wants to play running back.
Yeah.
By the way, we did tout Jalen Samuels and he didn't start. He started 3 games only, but he did really, really well. And actually, I'm pretty excited about Jalen Samuels as a cheap guy to grab at any point wherever he's getting drafted. Grab him if he's there.
Right.
Because I mean, why not? He's a good player.
For anybody who is streaming this or downloading it later, I want to remind everybody we do this show at 10/9 Central every Friday night. You go to blogtalkradio.com/HSFFO or hang out in the chat room with the other high-stakes players. And I got to tell you, Aces, Rebels, and Two-Packer are busy formulating the next trade offer for Mike Evans and Todd Gurley that Two-Packer is going to send my way, and it's not good. It is not good. He's saying Todd Gurley, I sent him for Adrian Peterson and a player to be named later.
Who I cut?
Yeah. Who did you cut? Adrian Peterson, yeah. I don't want to get back on the running backs yet because we just got done talking about Chris Herndon with the tight ends and rookie tight ends this past year. Let's continue on with the rookie tight ends in 2019. Dane Brugler, who writes for The Athletic, now believes Texas A&M tight end Jace Sternberger is going to be drafted in the late 2nd round or early 3rd round. Now, if you're not familiar with Sternberger's work, he is 6'4", 250 pounds. He is Brugler's number 4 tight end. He only played one significant season with Texas A&M last year, and it was a good one. Scored 10 touchdowns. That was 40% of the Aggies' receiving scores last year. He averaged 10.7 yards per target last season too, Dave. Now, I know A&M likes to throw the ball around, and they do it a lot under Jimbo Fisher there. However, I will say this is a guy that you should probably be paying attention to for those dynasty leagues in the FFPC where you get 1.5 points per catch for tight end. I think he has more juice, more hum on him than Gesicki did last year, more than Hurst, more than Andrews. Now, we'll see what he does at the Combine because he is a little bit slight. But as far as a move tight end, I'm definitely interested.
Yeah, he's got a cool name too, Sternberger. How are you going to fit that on the back?
Well, you know what's funny? It reminds me of Jake Stoneburner, who was a tight end for Ohio State a few years ago and kind of flamed out of the league.
Did he?
Yeah.
Plus, he does have the first name Jace, which reminds me of Jace, the piece of crap Amaro, the former Jets tight end who sucked and was awful.
Well, I believe he was also from A&M, wasn't he? Jace Amaro?
Maybe.
I'm going to look that up right now. How about this? Is there something that Jake Stoneburner decided that since he couldn't go by the Texas Tech is where Jace Amaro went, just couldn't cut it in the NFL. He went back to college under the name Jace Sternberger, and now is re-entering the draft.
Try it again. Maybe
I'm not so sure about this Jace Sternberger fella. We'll have to do some research on that. Stay tuned. We'll keep you posted right here on the HSFF Hour. Dane Brugler also saying that Alabama tight end Irv Smith is going to be drafted somewhere in the top 40. Now, he's not ruling out a first-round selection for the tight end from the Crimson Tide. As a junior last year, he averaged 11.5 yards per target, which he also led the class, according to Roto World, in marginal explosion, which actually is a big play measurement as far as these prospects go. He was very successful in the red zone in college, which is good for the next level. Right now, the Draft Network's Joe Marino has Irv Smith going to the Patriots with the final pick of the first round. And if Rob Gronkowski retires, that is a yummy spot for him, at least right away as he begins his NFL career. You look at Irv Smith. I don't know, people probably just want to compare him to O.J. Howard. I don't know if they're the same player, but Irv Smith, Jace Sternberger, just two guys, Dave, in a tight end class that I actually pretty well like this year.
Yeah, this tight end class is shaping up, actually. And, it's Irv Smith. The one thing you know about him is he went to Alabama, which means he was probably the number 1 ranked tight end coming out of high schoul, right? Because Alabama pretty much gets whoever the hell they want. If you're a tight end, who's the best one? All right, we'll go for that guy.
I think that they actually had another record-setting class. Just had National Signing Day this past Wednesday, I believe, and I think they had another record-setting class this year. Alabama, again, like you said, just getting who they want. And to that end, Dave, I don't know if you ever pay attention to Daniel Jeremiah from NFL.com. His mock drafts are always pretty exciting.
Okay.
He has Josh Jacobs, Alabama running back, going number 5 overall in that draft right now. Josh Jacobs, a guy who had fewer than 300 touches in his career at Alabama because they are so deep there.
Fresh legs.
Because other guys have they're transferring out. It boggles my mind if you're a 5-star player and you're going to another team with other 5-star players. I don't think I would want to do that. I want to go in a place where I know I'm going to still compete against very good talent and get out on the field. In Alabama, for whatever reason, they just get 5-star after 5-star there, and Irv Smith's one of them.
Isn't it funny, like Alabama and Georgia, too, at running back especially, they'll have a junior who's, they're going to play their final season because they're going to go, come out early. And they'll be like, oh, like Xavier Wilson or whatever, this young freshman, he's even better than this guy who's the 21-year or 20-year-old junior. This guy who's an 18-year-old kid, averaged like 12 yards a carry, had 5,400 yards in high school and 85 touchdowns. And it's crazy. It seems like it happens all the time.
Yeah.
Happened with Chubb. Remember when Chubb was like first coming in as his freshman year of college? And they were like, Chubb's better than anybody else because it's already on the team. And I think Gurley, anyway, whatever.
Well, I mean, people said that about Dalvin Cook's little brother when he came to Georgia as a 5-star recruit, James Cook, and he didn't, quite frankly, didn't see the field a ton. Did you know in this draft, coming out early, he's a junior. I think his name is Elijah. I have to look this up now. But from Georgia, a running back named... I'm sorry, this is terrible radio, ladies and gentlemen. I am not doing so good right now.
Elijah Holyfield?
Elijah Holyfield, the son of former heavyweight champion Evander Holyfield, is going to be in this draft class as well. He could potentially be a back-end day 2 pick. That's another guy we should keep an eye on and see where he's going to be going in dynasty drafts after it's all said and done.
I'm kind of interested in Bryce Love from Stanford because we haven't talked about him.
This is interesting, yes. Because he's a compelling case.
Yeah, he was super crazily highly touted coming into last year, right? And then when he had some injury problems or whatever, had a bad year.
He did have a bad year. He had some ankle problems. I remember last year everybody was assuming he was going to come out after his junior year. I remember seeing the tweets. Just got the 101 and traded for the 102 in my FFPC dynasty draft. Hello, Barkley and Love. Like just being bandied about as the obvious number 2 or maybe number 1 over Barkley. And
I don't know about that, but
then he has the bad season this year. He deals with the ankle issues. He is a slight back. He is not a very thick guy.
5'10", 203, so short and lean, kind of like Gio Bernard a little bit.
Right.
Without the ass issue.
Right. He actually, Dave, I don't know how you feel about this, but he skipped the Pac-10 media days this past season because he did not want to miss class.
You know what, dude, if you're going to Stanford, you go to class. I mean, that's like you can make, the people who go to Stanford and graduate, they can make as much money as NFL players once they actually get their jobs in Silicon Valley and whatever else. And plus, he's obviously a pretty smart guy. If you got to Stanford, even the athletes have to get pretty good ACT scores and SAT scores to get in there. I like Bryce Love quite a bit because he's not being talked about anymore. But what changed really? It's like he was an awesome player, unless he all of a sudden has lost his ability to run the football or his ankle injuries are perpetual or whatever. I just don't see that as a probability. And I think he's a player you can get in the second round of rookie drafts, and he'll be happy. Take that shot and see what happens. Even if he's behind a stud player, I think it's worth it to take a shot on Bryce Love. I like the name too, Love. Bryce Love, great.
Just an FYI, and I'm going to brag here a little bit. My cousin was on the 1997 National Championship cross-country team from Stanford University.
That's really cool.
Jason Balkman.
Nice.
Just had a baby, his second baby.
So what, did he have him put into his body?
No, his wife gave birth.
Oh, thank God.
Yes, just had.
Where does he live?
Congratulations to him. He's bounced around. I believe he was.
He's a bartender?
No. He actually went back to school to become a doctor a few years ago, and I believe he is one right now. I think he went to Case Western, and I think he is living
for his PhD. Or
yeah, and I believe he is living in Ohio right now. He was
Case Western's a good school.
He was in Vermont for a while. He's originally obviously from California, and now he is. I believe he's living in Ohio.
Cool.
Yeah,
that's
so
pretty neat.
Good for him.
Yeah, exactly.
He had his picture in Sports Illustrated.
Did he really?
Yeah.
In the crowd thing, or
it wasn't an in the crowd because he was just a cog in the championship. If you ever look at the SI, they'll have like a big picture before the faces in the crowd, and it showed the whole team, and he was in there. So very cool.
SI still around?
Oh yeah.
I'm just kind of kidding.
Yeah. No, it's whatever. We were just talking about rookie tight ends. I want to stay on that tip just for a little bit longer. T.J. Hawkinson, according to an NFL personnel executive, is more athletic than people are giving him credit for, a.k.a. he's white. And the executive expects Hawkinson to impress at the scouting combine this year. Now, this is a guy who reminds a lot of people of George Kittle, and not just because they both went to Iowa. Hawkinson is one of 2 Iowa tight ends. Noah Fant is the other one who could get selected in the first round of the draft coming up in April. He can get down the seam. He can win contested catches. And this is a guy, Dave, as we look at this tight end class, might be the best one. The aforementioned Daniel Jeremiah from NFL.com, has him going number 8 overall to Detroit.
Wow. Number 8 overall?
Number 8, yes.
That is huge. That's a really big deal, especially for FFPC. If you're going 8 overall at tight end, that's massive. You're going ahead of like other quarterback prospects and so on. When was the last time a tight end went that high? Ebron went 10th. Has any tight end gone higher?
O.J. Howard, I think, was number 5.
Was he? He was 5?
I'm going to look that up right now.
Man, it's crazy. They usually just don't go that high. They're kind of like safeties a lot of times. You get them in the second and third rounds usually, and even the good ones. Gronk was a third round pick.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
He went in the third round.
He went the third, right?
I was not even close.
Hernandez was in the second.
O.J. Howard was the 19th overall pick.
It's an expensive pick.
I thought I feel like there was a tight end that went 5th overall, like higher than Ebron. I can't remember who it was. Because Tony Gonzalez was a first-round pick, but he was at the end of the first, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's the first ballot Hall of Famer.
Good for him.
Good for him, absolutely.
Okay, so I don't know if you have any thoughts on Hawkinson v. Fant right now as far as these Iowa tight ends go. I don't think you can go wrong. I like them both. And quite frankly, I would love Green Bay to get one of these guys.
Why? So they can give him 90 targets? It's a new coaching staff. Maybe they finally throw to the tight end like other good teams do.
Right, and I can't remember the last time the Packers I guess I can remember the last time the Packers invested a first-round pick in a tight end. Can you tell me who it was? Out of the U?
Bubba Franks.
Bubba Franks, out of the U. I want to say 1999.
Thank you.
And he went to a Pro Bowl, at least one Pro Bowl.
He really was not a great receiving
tight end. He was not.
He was a really good blocking tight end.
He was not bad.
He was a pretty good blocking tight end.
He was all right. But if they invest a first-round pick into or even a second-round pick into a tight end, I really love that. We've been trying to fix the Packers on my local radio show this week, Dave, and we thought we could do it in 10 minutes, just the two of us, me and my co-host. It required 20 minutes and a third co-host in order to do it. I think we've got it solved, and part of that was T.J. Hawkinson and a tight end on day 2, which I hope that they do. So that is where we stand on those Iowa tight ends. We'll see how they do at the combine. I can't believe it. They just released some numbers this week. 338 players will be invited to the NFL combine this year. That is a record. 338. If you like watching the combine on NFL Network, hopefully you have a really comfy spot in your living room. You have a steady supply of snacks and beverages in your house because there is going to be a lot of combine action this year.
338, that's outstanding. You talking about all these tight ends and what they're going to run and this and that, got me excited about the combine. You know what is great about the NFL? They do a really great job about this, is you finish the Super Bowl, and 2 weeks later, it's like, it's on, it's back, right? Yeah. And I think, I will say, I'll give FFPC some credit as well.
Oh, my God.
That because of the way we run Dynasty and now with early getting leagues off, it's almost nonstop, right? Because the Super Bowl's going on, the Super Bowl happens, and all of a sudden we have drafts going on for 2019, we have best ball drafts. We have Dynasty teams. We're like 80+% renewed already for Dynasty.
Right.
People are making trades like crazy. We have roster.
They really are. I get these emails every time I try. It's insane.
Do you get all this?
I think I get a lot of them. Most of them. I feel like I spend 10 minutes out of my day just getting rid of these emails.
Why do you get those?
I don't know. Bryce,
why don't you just tell
Commissioner, audio engineer Bryce gets them too.
All of them? He doesn't get all of them.
He gets a good chunk of them.
Why don't we tell those guys at big games not whatever? Anyway, we'll talk about.
Well, it's not a big deal. Whatever.
It is actually a good way if you're thinking about making trades. You can look up. I was looking up Josh Gordon trades actually because there's a rumor that Josh Gordon is going to be reinstated. By the way, speaking of news.
Speaking of Josh Gordon, also Martavis Bryant should be reinstated.
And Bryant, and actually one of the Minor brothers, like MINER, they have a few dynasty teams.
Okay.
I noticed that they made a bunch of trades, trading away all their garbage picks, like 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th.
For Josh Gordon.
Not 8th. 4th, 6th, 7th, yeah. For Gordon. They were trading away all these garbage picks for Gordon. I'm like, what the hell are they doing? And then a day or two later, the news came out, so that was interesting.
Elite talent over everything else. Glenn Lowy, we talked about that on a previous High Stakes Lowdown podcast, and I think I really take that to heart. It is never more true than it is when it comes to FFPC Dynasty rosters. I think that is a great way to spend those late-round picks in your leagues in order to acquire an asset like Josh Gordon, whose value, quite frankly, can only go up.
Oh, it actually can go much further down.
Can it really?
Yeah, it can be worth zero. Pretty quick.
It's got to be worth pretty much close to zero right now, dude.
Some of the, they trade away a couple of thirds, a fourth, a fifth. I mean, those picks actually are. I think there's some value to those picks because you have to cut a lot of free agents in FFPC. So I'm just saying. And I don't. You have to cut a lot of veterans that then become free agents.
Let me ask you this. This is actually a topic that Brian Studebaker and I talked about quite a bit. And I'm not going to reveal his thoughts on it. You can check out the episode. Yeah. Brian, by the way, who won.
Not Brent.
No. There's two different FFPC players.
Great.
Brian won 4. He plays in 10 FFPC Dynasty leagues. He cashed in 8 of them last year. He won 4 of them, including 2 1250s and a 2500. He knows what he's doing. Seriously, he does.
I know. I don't need to give a.
Well, what? I mean, it's just like, I'm saying it a little tongue in cheek, obviously.
Yeah, that's fine.
So we're talking about Michelle versus White. Think about the Patriots offense next year, Dave. You have 72-year-old Tom Brady at quarterback. Maybe Rob Gronkowski doesn't come back. Maybe Josh Gordon isn't reinstated.
Gordon may or may not get reinstated. I think Gronk's coming back.
Okay. Julie, you are more confident than I am. Julian Edelman will be another year older. Okay. And you're going to have Isaiah Wynn coming off IR.
He takes steroids during the offseason,
Right. So he just misses the first 4 games that he can come
back
to
the
Super Bowl MVP.
Like,
Do you have a problem with that, by the way?
To be honest, not really.
Yeah, I didn't either. And I was talking about this. I'm like,
he was totally ripped too. It's like, oh man.
Under the current rules, he served his penance and moved on. You can't hate the player. You literally have to hate the game.
Right.
And that's my issue.
By the way, off topic, does the NBA even test for pot or anything, or don't they even care?
No comment. So
they can't possibly test for pot.
Listen,
Dave, but half those guys are stoned during games.
I'm not going to get into that. So anyway, Isaiah Wynn, who was their first round pick last year, went on IR pretty early, New England.
Yep. You
think about what this offense could be next year, and you have a couple of guys at wide receiver that are whatevers, Patterson, Dorsett. I think this could be a massive Michelle White year in 2019.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, whether they're going to want to run the ball more frequently or do short passing game, but I don't think Belichick just sits on his hands and doesn't acquire receiving talent. And a lot of times he does it so cheaply and always at the end, like with just random guys that are laying around like spare parts.
Or he trades for one.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, he did trade for Cooks. That was interesting. And then he got back the same pick later, which was also interesting.
What about this?
Antonio Brown's a guy.
I was just going to ask you that. What are the chances that the Steelers would trade him to the Patriots?
I mean, if they do it, it's almost ludicrous to do it because it's within your own conference. And I know.
Dave.
But you're talking about the elite.
Look at that. Like people can't see this right now. But I'm looking at Dave Gerzak's face. He literally has words coming out of both sides of his mouth right now. Okay?
You're right.
Go ahead.
In this particular instance.
Oh, so now we're qualifying it.
Jay, I'm right or qualifying.
All right, okay.
In this instance.
Balky, this is totally stupid except for this.
Okay, Big Ben has 1 to 2 years left, right? The ogre. 1 to 2 years left. So does Brady probably.
1 to 2 really successful years.
Sure, yeah.
So he turns into Eli. Fat Eli.
Oh, God, please no. Big Ben.
Oh, it's happening. It's going to happen.
Okay, so 1 to 2 good years left. Let's say 2.
Okay.
And Brady, same thing. And they're in the same conference. And the Patriots division is so crappy. It's always so terrible. I mean, we have Miami and the Jets and Buffalo consistently sucking. Buffalo's defense is always good, especially at home.
And it looks like they got a quarterback now.
Yep, it does. But nevertheless,
offensive line's pretty good.
They're still not on the Patriots level. So
right.
They always roll through their division.
Nobody in that division is close to the Patriots level. You
can't give up Antonio Brown to a team like that because you're going to be playing on the road in the playoffs. If you make the playoffs, you just can't do it.
You know, but Dave, I don't know.
Unless it's the best deal.
Antonio Brown doesn't really strike me as the type of guy who would be motivated by that. Doesn't strike me as the type of guy who'd have a chip on his shoulder.
Yeah, I know, right? He only beats his girlfriend or whatever.
No, but I'm saying like if he's going up against the Steelers in the playoffs, I mean, what's the over under on total receiving yards for him that game? 290, 292,
yeah,
something
exactly.
like that. Yeah. No, you make a good point.
And he would like throw the ball at Big Ben like on the sideline or whatever, and as if it's his fault.
Right.
That he's an ass.
Okay. Well, whatever, Dave.
I mean, he is. Antonio Brown is not a very nice fellow.
I don't really want to get into the whole. I don't know any of these guys personally, so I don't want to, get into that. But
he's very competitive. He's an excellent football player.
Right. Phil in Willow Grove, Pennsylvania, leading things off this week. How's it going? With you guys already in full-on best ball mode, I decided to jump in myself, but I'm not sure where I should target Le'Veon Bell. Could you play a Would You Rather with him for me? Thank you for the email. Phil in Willow Grove, Pennsylvania.
You're drafting this early? That's crazy.
So, yeah, okay, well, why would you even say that?
I'm making a joke. It's funny.
Hilarious. All right, Dave, would you rather have Alvin Kamara or Le'Veon Bell?
All right, at Chimera.
Melvin Gordon or Le'Veon Bell?
I'll take Gordon, but it's really not as far away as I would have thought.
I agree. Le'Veon Bell or James Conner?
I'm going to take Bell, actually. I'm going to take a random Bell.
Okay. I would take Conner there, but it is close. Le'Veon Bell or Nick Chubb?
Chubb.
Okay. Are you surprised? Maybe you're not because you're taking Chubb here. Chubb is going at the 203 in FFPC drafts right now, Dave. He is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9th running back off the board. Does that seem right to you? I guess maybe it does. Now that I think about it.
The fear with Chubb is the pass catching. You have an ascendant offense, great quarterback coming up.
Now,
I'm very concerned about his pass catching.
Let me counter that for a second.
Counter.
Freddie Kitchens took over the play calling duties, at week 9, something like that, week 8, right around there, about halfway through the season.
Okay.
It's not like Duke Johnson was all of a sudden this world beater, right? Which, if you're concerned with the pass catching, those passes would have to go somewhere. And Duke Johnson maybe.
Did they go to Chubb?
Well, my point is I don't necessarily think that the offense is going to change all that much from second half 2018 to 2019. Part of the reason Freddie Kitchens got the job is because the offense is very successful. Part of the reason the offense is very successful because Nick Chubb was a huge part of it. And that was a Nick Chubb who didn't catch a lot of passes. So my point is, it has does the pass catching notion hold water here? Certainly you'd like him to catch passes, but even if he doesn't, look at what the numbers he did.
Yeah, so let's look at the numbers. Actually, that's a great point. And so from weeks 9 through 17, does that sound fair? I'm just throwing it out there. I'm not trying to be whatever.
That's fine.
Actually, I'll put 9 to 16. We get rid of that. 17 here. And Nick Chubb averaged.
We need a full-time intern.
19.7 yards. Or, I'm sorry, 19.7 points.
Right.
He was number 6 running back. He had a 36-point game week 10. 28-point game week 12. He had a bye week in there. And so he did very well. He was just behind Derrick Henry, by the way, which I think he's a super value. And Chubb is interesting, though. This is really interesting. When did Kitchens take over?
I don't really remember.
So, okay, Nick Chubb, we know that there was the dealings of Carlos Hyde. But as of week 7, Nick Chubb had a total of 3 targets and no catches. 0. But from weeks 8 through 17, he had a total of 20 catches for 149 yards and two touchdowns with 29 targets. So he got week 8. It was like, okay, 3, 1, 3, 3, 3, 6, 1, 3, 3. It's not great, but it's not 0, right? And he's a great touchdown type back. He's a huge player. He's a big guy. He's going to always score touchdowns.
Big boy. As John Dorsey calls him.
Hey, big boy, you want to be on the ground?
Oh, hold on. I'm sorry. I don't know if the listeners heard that. I really apologize. Did you hear that?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, all right.
You trying to pull up the clip?
I'm trying to find out what week Freddie Kitchens took over.
Oh, right on.
Yeah.
Hey, big boy, you want to be on the ground? 5'11", 227. I do like Chubb, actually. He's a great player. And also, he has the Matt Waldman stamp of approval. He's the number 1 back from last year's draft, including Barkley.
Right. Yeah. No, okay. All right.
So even with the, so I think Chubb could catch 40, 45 passes.
I think it was a mid season. I mean, we don't need to get into it, but okay. So you'd rather have Chubb than Bell, okay?
Yeah. By the way, real quick, weeks 9 through 16. Let me just reiterate that Christian McCaffrey was the number 1 running back by 5.8 points over Saquon Barkley, and number 2 running back was Ezekiel Elliott with 25.338. So number 1.
All right.
McCaffrey, 28.2.
Am I stupid for? I know I missed the boat on Elliott this last year. Am I stupid for eschewing him again this year?
Maybe. I mean, what's wrong with
103?
Yeah, he's good.
I don't know, man. Kellen Moore is the OC. Jason Garrett, like basically lame duck status. John Kitna, the quarterback.
It's continuity. It's continuity. That's actually good. You have Dak Prescott, who's still there. The offensive line is still great. You have Cooper at receiver. It's actually opens things up.
All right.
I mean, Dallas is going to be pretty decent. Their defense will probably relatively half suck, and the offenses in that NFC East are pretty darn good. So they're going to have to score.
Did you ever see the movie Ant-Man or Ant-Man and the Wasp?
No.
Okay.
Actually, I saw Ant-Man. I did not see the...
Do you remember when he went into the quantum realm?
No.
Okay, we're about to go into the quantum realm of Would You Rather. I'm going to do a Would You Rather inside of Would You Rather. Ezekiel Elliott...
By the way, Inception is on right behind you. So.
Oh, there you go. All right, well, I'm going to make you think that you thought of this yourself. Yeah. Ezekiel Elliott or Christian McCaffrey?
McCaffrey for me.
McCaffrey?
For me, McCaffrey.
Okay, McCaffrey or okay, I think I know this one. McCaffrey or Gurley?
I'm taking McCaffrey.
Okay, I figured you would. McCaffrey or Barkley?
I'll take Barkley.
Okay,
Barkley is right now. McCaffrey is my number 2 back.
So you would, if you had the first overall pick in a draft, you would take Barkley.
I would.
And if you had the second overall pick, you'd take McCaffrey, assuming Barkley won.
Yes.
Okay.
I would.
Go ahead and make your point.
That's it. There's no point.
Le'Veon Bell or David Johnson?
Bell.
I'm going to go Bell, too. I hate that Arizona team. Until they show me something. And if I miss the boat on David Johnson, I'm totally fine with that.
I actually think Johnson will have a pretty good season.
Le'Veon Bell or Joe Mixon?
I'll take Bell.
Agree. Le'Veon Bell or Dalvin Cook?
I'll take Bell, but it's not that far from Cook. I like Cook.
Did you see the news today? Gary Kubiak is was he the OC that got hired in Minnesota, and then he brought on Rick Dennison as well, the old offensive line coach from Denver that he had worked with so much. They're going to be running the show in Minnesota now under Mike Zimmer, who's obviously a defensive guy as the head coach.
It's funny. I thought most of those guys were dead. Was Zimmer?
Yeah.
Zimmer and Kubiak are still living. I'm just kidding. Kubiak's 57. I'm only 10 years.
Well, and Kubiak had those health issues that I think that's why you're saying.
Kubiak actually though. Usually when you hear about him running an offense, it's pretty good news. So I feel pretty good about him running the Vikings. If I was, it's weird. I'm not a Vikings fan, but if I was, I'd feel pretty good about it. I'm like the Packers fan who don't feel so good about where they're at right now.
Oh, okay. Well, how do you?
Who's the OC for the Packers?
Nathaniel Hackett.
What is he?
He is a 24-year-old graduate assistant. No, I'm just kidding. He is young. He's like in his mid to late 30s.
That's fun.
So
it'd be so funny. 24-year-old Yale grad. He got his PhD at age 19.
He was a stock boy at the local come and go or whatever. Quick trip. Last one: Le'Veon Bell or Joe Mixon. Oh no, I already did that one. Le'Veon Bell or Sony Michel.
Bell for sure. Michel does not catch passes.
I agree.
I don't think Michel's going to catch passes. I like Michel.
James White's there. They don't need to throw to him.
I actually am trying to trade Michel. And I actually like her. Hey, Meyer, what do you think about that? I'm trying to deal Michel.
I'm just checking the chat room. 2 Packers. Sony Michel 102 no matter what.
Yeah, he's passed already. Michel doesn't catch passes, Meyer.
I'm going to just reiterate. Everybody should go download the Brian Studebaker latest high-stakes lowdown. We really get into the Michel James White discussion. This is compelling stuff.
Good, is it?
Yes. Pete in Birmingham, Alabama. How would you two compare and contrast the skills of Lamar Jackson and Kyler Murray as it relates to fantasy? I'll hang up and listen. Thank you for the email, Pete in Birmingham, Alabama. Kyler Murray, Dave, this is an interesting guy. A guy who said he will attend the NFL Combine. A guy who was a first-round pick by the Oakland Athletics in Major League Baseball. And he's angling to be a first-round pick in the National Football League as well. You'd be the first ever athlete to be drafted both in the first round of the MLB draft and in the NFL draft. He obviously, I'll lead things off here between Murray and Jackson. He does not have the running chops and the athleticism that Lamar Jackson had. Lamar Jackson was truly, the word freak gets thrown around a lot, but Lamar Jackson was uber athletic, and what he's able to do with his legs in the quarterback position was awesome.
Which was, I will say, we have touted since day one.
We totally agree. Kyler Murray, on the other hand, while he can move the chains with his legs, he can extend plays. He is not the athlete that Lamar Jackson is, but he is a much more pure and polished passer. That said, he's like 4 foot tall, which is an issue.
He's 5'11", about my height.
5'11", my foot. In his bra. What's the line from Liar? Is that the line from Liar? Yeah. 5'10" in his bra. Okay. Whatever. He's a short guy. The other thing that you have to keep in mind, maybe he plays baseball. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen.
There is that risk.
You know, and I don't think it's a good one. I think he does play in the NFL, but still, I am nowhere near as bullish on Kyler Murray as I was Lamar Jackson last year.
I totally agree, 100%. I don't mind Murray, but I would not. Remember in rookie drafts, I was targeting Lamar Jackson anywhere from the 112 on. And I got him almost everywhere.
I got him in Carrington. I got him in 3 spots last year, and I don't think I think the highest spot I paid for him was like the 205. And for a quarterback hating guy like me, that was like not fingernails on the chalkboard. It was like twisting my arm, like, all right, I'll take him here, but I didn't like it, you know.
Yeah.
Wanted to take a running back or a wide receiver. So that's my feelings on Murray. I think you and I are of one mind here.
All right, I'm going to go back to an old topic real quick, and I know we're running late on time. What do Lamar Miller, Austin Eckler, Kenyon Drake, Gus Edwards, Darren Sproles, Elijah McGuire, Peyton Barber, Doug Martin, C.J. Anderson, Jalen Samuels, Donta Foreman, Jalen Richard, and Adrian Peterson all have in common from weeks 10 through 16 last year?
Oh, I was going to say they're all taller than Kyler Murray. But
the answer is that they all outscored Sony Michel. Because Sony Michel was the number 37 running back, averaging a whopping 10.467 points per PPR game, weeks 10 through 16 last year.
Yeah.
Sony Michel, no thank you, no matter what.
Okay, that's funny. Kentucky team name, no thank you, no matter what.
Yeah, it's fine with me. Unless James White tears his ACL, in which case I love Sony Michel.
There you go. Well, what about Burkhead? You still got Burkhead farting around in that backfield, too.
Yeah, good point. Forget it.
Glenn in South Plainfield, New Jersey. Could a change of scenery do Devin Funchess some good, or has the ship sailed on him, and what would you give up in Dynasty to acquire him right now? Thank you for the email, Glenn, over in South Plainfield,
He's a free
New
agent
Jersey.
now, right?
He is indeed a free agent. He can sign with anybody. I don't think this is necessarily a robust free agent class, but oftentimes, as is the case in a lot of professional sports, Dave, the best free agents or the best players often never reach free agency because their team locks them up before then. Carolina chose not to do that. They have DJ Moore there as their main guy. Obviously, Ian Thomas, Greg Olsen, Christian McCaffrey as the other pass catchers on that team. Devin Funchess, is it just as simple as give him a fresh start in a different city and watch him rise, or have we seen the Devin Funchess that we can expect no matter where he ends up?
Well, I just pulled up his name with news articles, and it says he wants to stay with the Panthers, which is really a problem. I think if you can deal Funchess for literally anything, 3rd-round pick, take it. Because I just don't think he's ever going to become – he's actually what he is he's a roster clogger at this point. And he's been clogging some rosters of mine for a while.
I would rather have him than a 3rd-round pick. Just on that chance that he does fall into a good situation and then maybe his value goes up. Do you want to guess his age? Remember, he was one of the younger
24.
players. He is. Did you have that up?
I do have it up, but I actually also knew he was 20 when he entered the NFL.
Yeah, he is. Turns 25 on May 21st. 6'4", 236-pound wide receiver out of the University of Michigan. If I can get a 2nd-round pick for him, I'm all over that. You get to that, 3rd round. I'm going to stick with Funchess then. I hate 3rd and 4th round rookie picks. I really do. I've had zero success with them. Give me the proven player where I don't have to think about it, and I'll roll that way. Final email of the night, Dave. Al in McCook, Nebraska. Dear Southside Jerome and Sheriff Gonna Get You. Did you see the video of Darius Geis running already? Is he a good buy low in Dynasty right now? Also, where should I take him in redraft leagues? That is Al in McCook, Nebraska. I have a few thoughts on this, but I'll let you go first, Dave.
What was the question?
It was a two-parter. First question is he a good buy low in Dynasty right now?
In my opinion, no. I just because you see film of him running straight forward doesn't mean
that was my point.
That he's over the issues. When you have to have the surgery and then you have to have three surgeries beyond the first one, I'm out. Forget it. I wasn't on Geis before, and he was never a pass catching back to begin with, and PPR is a problem. So no thanks. I'm passing. Hard pass.
You have to move laterally, okay, as a running back in the NFL. You just have to. I mean, that's probably number one. And the fact that he is running a straight line, even if he wasn't running right now, I basically have the same reaction. When he's cutting, when he's shifting, tell me that, because that's much more important. I'll tell you the other thing.
It's positive news, though. I mean,
it's fine. I wouldn't even say it's positive. It's just it's whatever.
Well, it's better than he's not doing anything. He's sitting there.
That's my point. I don't know if it is. He's got to be moving laterally for me to get excited about this. Here's the other part I don't like about it. Washington is an absolute dumpster fire this year. Probably not going to have Alex Smith. Your starting quarterback right now is Josh Johnson. Even if you bring somebody in, it's going to be either a rookie or a guy like Joe Flacco or, Nick Foles or somebody like that. I can't believe they paid Nick Foles, but who knows?
First of all, I mean,
the receivers are non-existent.
You can't say it's going to be Flacco or somebody like Nick Foles. I mean, it's a big difference between.
Is it?
Yes.
Is it?
Yes.
Maybe in the playoffs.
Flacco is a washed-up free agent. Nick Foles just rejected a $20 million tender for $2 million. I think it cost him $2 million
right.
to become a free agent. He's going to get a big.
He's going to get paid, no question. And I guess Washington's paying Alex Smith a ton, so it's like, can you?
We ripped on that from day one. That was like the worst.
Yeah.
Washington is a terrible front office.
And okay, so that goes to my point. Their offensive.
Your point is correct.
Their offensive line actually, I would say in 2016 and 2017, among the worst in the NFL. And now I look at that offensive line, that might be the strength of that offense, and it's not a compliment to their offensive line.
Sure.
Doxson, Crowder, give me a break.
Yeah, I mean, Doxson was a bad pick to begin with, as we knew, and he still sucks.
Who's the other receiver there that I'm forgetting about besides Crowder?
I don't know.
Is there somebody?
Pierre Garcon?
No, he's with San Francisco.
Is he still around?
That's funny, though.
He's still in the NFL?
Art Monk, I think his school was. Jordan Reed, obviously, still there as well. I'm not excited about this at all. Dave, what do Marlon Mack, Darius Geis, Derrick Henry, and Philip Lindsay all have in common?
They all outscored Sony Michel by 7 to 8 fantasy points in weeks 10 to 17.
Possibly, I don't know. But I will tell you this, they're all going within one pick of each other in FFPC drafts right now.
Okay, so those players again?
Marlon Mack, Darius Geis, Derrick Henry, Philip Lindsay. Tell me one player you'd rather have Geis over than those three.
None. Henry, to me, is the value. Henry, I think, is really cheap.
He's going at the 402, same as Geis.
The new OC just said, Henry's we're gonna play him like crazy. We're gonna pound him and just do it up.
Doesn't catch passes though. Deion Lewis still there.
Yeah, he scored 48 points without catching passes. I mean, and Deion Lewis is
okay, but
not
that's my point. But
Deion Lewis is not that great. First of all,
right? No, okay, that's fine. But that was sort of my point on Nick Chubb.
Well, I also said I like Chubb.
Okay.
If you didn't remember,
I mean, Chubb is going 2 full rounds ahead of Henry.
Which is why I like Henry as a much better value than Chubb.
Okay.
I really do.
Yeah. No, I get it.
There's really not that big of a difference to me, in all truthfulness, between Henry and Chubb. What really is the big difference? They're both super talented big backs.
I'll say this. I like the Cleveland offense significantly better than Tennessee.
I agree with that. But I mean, 2 full rounds better? I don't know about that.
Maybe not. Is that the point?
No, I agree. I really... If you can get, I would take Henry at the 310, 311 if you're going to pass on Chubb. Grab a receiver,
how about this?
And there you go.
Let's see how great your Henry love runs. We'll play a Would You Rather to end the show.
Is this going to be a 4-hour show?
No. I want it because this is important. Derrick Henry or Marlon Mack?
Henry.
I agree. Derrick Henry or Kerryon Johnson?
I'll say Henry, but I like Kerryon Johnson.
I do too. Totally my point. Derrick Henry or Aaron Jones?
Henry.
I agree. Derrick Henry or Leonard Fournette?
Henry, because Fournette's offense, damn team sucks.
All right. So, like, right now it seems kind of stupid that we would be saying that, but I think, like, at the end of the season, we'll be like, oh, yeah, obviously you should have taken Henry over Fournette. So I like Henry better as well. All right. Here's an interesting one. Derrick Henry or Damian Williams?
Henry.
Now, the only reason I'm saying Henry is because I still am a little skittish that Kansas City goes to the start of the regular season as having Damian Williams and nobody else.
Yep, no risk with Henry comparatively to Williams.
All right, here's a
He's a pedigree player.
Here's a fun one. Maybe not for you. Derrick Henry or Sony Michel?
Henry.
Yeah, I agree.
Easy.
Derrick Henry. Oh, here's a good one, Dave. Derrick Henry or Dalvin Cook?
You're baiting me here.
I'm rolling with Cook, quite frankly.
I'll take Henry.
All right. Derrick Henry or Joe Mixon?
Henry.
I would take Mixon. Derrick Henry or David Johnson?
Henry.
Dude, David Johnson could catch a bajillion passes. Derrick Henry's going to have like 3.
That's true. And last year in weeks 10 through 16, Henry outscored David Johnson by about a point a game.
Yeah, but now Cliff Kingsbury is going to be throwing it or having Josh Rosen dumped off Dave Johnson the whole time.
Josh Rosen.
Yeah, exactly. He's not going to pump it downfield. He's not going to be able to.
True.
Do you like Henry better than Johnson?
It's
very close. Blah blah blah.
Yeah, I don't know. I might change my mind.
Okay. Well, that's about where it was. And you like Nick Chubb in a vacuum better than Derrick Henry.
Yeah, I do definitely.
You like the value for Henry better than the Chubb value.
For sure with that.
All right, last one. Derrick Henry or Le'Veon Bell?
Bell.
I agree. All right, that's
going
to do it.
Maybe because David Johnson is so much better of a pass catcher. I might have to take Johnson.
Oh, hold on. We got some action here in the chat room. Two-packer. Michelle over Henry. You guys are idiots. I'll bet as much as you bitches want on that one.
Fine, I'll bet him $100 that Henry outscores Michelle this season.
$100. Then
I beat Balky in 2 cricket bets for $100 recently.
Oh, that was terrible. I mean, I was talking to people about that. Like the guys at the radio station couldn't believe we were playing $100 cricket games.
Who said 100? Was
here's
it you or
what
I don't remember what happened.
So I won 340 on the slot, and so I had all this extra cash on me. And I don't even know how we got. Like I wasn't.
You were baiting me into playing
but I
cricket
wasn't even
for money.
planning on playing. Like I was just casually walking over there, throwing the darts, and I was humming them pretty good. I'm like, I should play. And I forgot how good you were at it.
I'm not really that good. I was great.
You're very good. Two-packer says that's a deal.
All right, deal done.
So, all right, so Dave Gerzak has Derrick Henry. Two-packer has Sony Michel. More total points in 2019 between those two guys.
Weeks 1 through 16.
Weeks 1 through 16. You guys have 100 on it. So there you go.
That'll be fun.
So, but I had this money, and I'm like, and I don't know if I was like, I don't know what I was.
We had some shots of Fireball.
I was overserved. Well, then like.
And also
we get that.
She was a very attractive
Yeah,
young
and I said to her, I'm like, hey, what was in that bomb that you gave us? She's like, you want another one? I'm like, no, I just want to know what was in it. Here you go. Here's another one.
She just gave us a tray of
and then the real Leroy didn't do his, so I did his. She wasn't 21, so she couldn't drink.
I
think I shouldn't. I'm not even going to say how many drinks I had under the air because it's embarrassing. But yeah, so I blame our buddy Aaron for costing me money on this because we won $100 on the first game. You destroyed me. The second game I came closer, but you still won. I wanted to go 100 again, and you were ready to until Aaron said you like don't do 100 again. You got to stop taking his money. And you're like, fine, I'll do 20. And I'm like, okay, fine, I'll do 20. Yeah, and I won the third game.
By the way, in the third game, you hit, and this is cricket we're playing, you hit a 9 mark.
I had a 9 mark.
Triple.
But my whole point was Aaron cost me $80.
He did.
Because if it wasn't for him talking you out of doing $100 on that game, I would have won 100.
Yeah, you're right.
It's just so frustrating.
Yep, you know what? That's a lesson. I'm going to keep all the money.
Isn't this compelling? February 8th, we're having a 90-minute high-stakes fantasy football hour.
This
is fantastic stuff.
Can we please end it?
Yeah, we'll end it right now. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for our show this week, our first show after the Super Bowl. I want to thank Prasadh Kannan for joining the show tonight. I want to thank Dave Gerzak.
I'm sorry, I just want to bring up,
go ahead.
I unveiled my 2017 Big Payback Champion trophy.
From Kentucky?
Yep, it got out of the box. It's here in my trophy.
2017, so that was 2 years ago.
Yeah, it was sitting in my garage. I finally took it out.
I noticed that.
I'm sorry, Phil.
I saw that and I'm like, oh my goodness, I didn't notice that.
That was Kurt, of course, is the brand.
Right, obviously. was the brains behind the Kentucky Auction Championship this last year.
Yeah, and the whole thing too.
Prasadh, Kannan, Dave Gerzak, the FFPC, Rob Rice, of course, each and every one of you. Check out those Dynasty Orphans and the Best Ball Leagues over at myffpc.com. And again, I want to remind everybody, RotoViz Season 4 premiere, High Stakes Lowdown is going to be a great season. And we kick it off in fine style with Brian Studebaker, the Real Men of Genius Dynasty franchise owner.
Nice.
Won more than $40,000 in FFPC Dynasty alone last year. It's great stuff. RotoViz.com/podcast. Check that out. We will be back next week with a brand new episode for y'all, and hopefully it won't be 90 minutes. Your weekend officially starts now.
This has been another episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by myffpc.com that was broadcast live and heard around the world. Eric and Dave will be back next week with more analysis, interviews, and advice from a guest much smarter than they are. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk with you again next week.
Dave, you have 10 seconds to give me your Super Bowl champion for this coming year. Who is it going to be?
Oh, I'll do the Chiefs.
All right. I like the Patriots. Thanks for listening. Talk to you next week.
Damn, Patriots is right.
This brown bag lunch, this staycation, this do-it-yourself oil change, this second shift at work. At American Family Insurance, we understand what it takes to make your first home a reality. It's the same as it takes to protect it. For home, auto, life, and business, visit amfam.com to learn more. Insure carefully. Dream fearlessly. American Family Insurance.
American Family Mutual Insurance Company, SI, and its operating company, 6000 American Parkway, Madison, Wisconsin.
This brown bag lunch, this staycation, this do-it-yourself oil change, this second shift at work. At American Family Insurance, we understand what it takes to make your first home a reality. It's the same as it takes to protect it. For home, auto, life, and business, visit amfam.com to learn more. Insure carefully. Dream fearlessly. American Family Insurance.
American Family Mutual Insurance Company, SI, and its operating company, 6000 American Parkway, Madison, Wisconsin.